You thought rap beef was all bars and bravado? Ah, baby, this just turned into a full-blown federal level. Drama with receipts hotter than a mixtape dropped in hell. What happens when your old rap partner stops spitting on beats and starts spilling your family's darkest secrets in court? Cam'ron just delivered the ultimate betrayal land this time. It ain't on wax. It's on official court documents sealed with a side of scandal shade. And savage receipts that got Harlem shaken harder than Jim Jones's chains in a Dipset. Video.y is Cam'ron suddenly lawyering up and dropping legal nukes on Jim Jones' family, who got exposed. And how deep does this rabbit hole of fraud, fake businesses, and money laundering drama go? Is this payback for years of quiet beef, or just the beginning of Harlem's messiest fallout yet? Strap in, because this ain't just tea, this is a boiling pot of betrayal. It's cooked up with million-dollar wire transfers, anonymous whistleblowers, and a family allegedly moving like a mafia cartel in Gucci belts. You thought Dipset was forever. You might want to rethink that. Let's break it all down, because the truth, fam, is louder than bars. And Cam'ron just grabbed the mic. Asterisk, let's set the stage. Because this ain't just hip-hop gossip, it's Harlem history rewriting itself in real time. Cam'ron, the pink mink general himself, just set the courtroom on fire with a legal leak. That's burning through the Dipset legacy like lighter fluid on a velvet bandana. And guess who's at the center of the inferno? It's none other than Jim Jones. Harlem's self-proclaimed capo is now watching his family empire teeter on the edge of collapse after Cam'ron dropped court documents so loaded they read more like a Netflix crime script than a legal filing. We're talking secret accounts, offshore money, fake businesses, and a web of family secrets dirtier than the bottom of a New York subway stairwell. The same family Jim Jones used to rap about with loyalty and pride is now allegedly being exposed for running ghost companies, funneling cash through shady shell corporations, and laundering money with a kind of precision that screams this ain't their first time. According to sources close to the situation, and by sources, we mean those anonymous insiders who suddenly get brave when subpoenas start flying. Cam'ron's legal team has compiled damning receipts that include suspicious wire transfers, property deals that don't add up, and a paper trail so thick it needs its own filing cabinet. One company, listed as a real estate investment firm, apparently had no employees, no active properties, and yet somehow moved $7 million through its account in under 4 months. And when you trace where that money went, let's just say it didn't end up in home renovations. It's allegedly landed in offshore accounts linked to Jim's family members, spread across places like the Cayman Islands, Luxembourg, and a random private trust in the British Virgin Islands that just so happens to be managed by someone with the same last name. Convenient, right? But this isn't just about money. It's about power, legacy, and a brotherhood that's now shattered beyond repair. Let's not act like this beef came out of nowhere. Cam'ron and Jim Jones have had a rocky ride for years, trading subliminals and icy stares while pretending everything was love. But behind the scenes, the tension was thicker than Jim's beard in 2005. Old interviews, leaked voicemails, and awkward public encounters painted a picture of two men clinging to a legacy, while privately plotting each other's downfall. And now Cam'ron decided enough was enough. No diss track, no podcast rant, just cold hard paperwork filed straight with the court. The documents reportedly include emails, financial statements, and even secretly recorded conversations implicating several members of Jones's family in what Cam's side calls an orchestrated financial deception network. And yeah, that's a direct quote. This isn't some petty he said, she said. This is legal language, notarized, stamped, and filed for the whole world to dissect. Sources say the court filing details how family members allegedly used dummy corporations to apply for business loans, PPP funds, and even tax breaks on properties that never existed. One shell company listed under the name of a distant cousin, supposedly set up to flip properties in upstate New York, but the address listed was a mailbox inside a nail salon. You can't make this up. Then comes the real kicker, allegedly. When some younger family members started asking questions or expressing doubts about where the money was coming from, they were shut down. Not just silence threatened. According to one portion of the filing, someone in the family circle warned a relative that if you open your mouth, you'll lose everything: money, protection, your name in this family. That same relative, now estranged and reportedly hiding out in Atlanta, is said to have turned over audio clips of secret meetings where Jones's inner circle discusses how to move funds, scrub transactions, and keep nosy outsiders away. In one of the recordings, someone allegedly says this: "Ain't music anymore, it's survival." Cameron, who apparently received these clips through an anonymous encrypted email, sat on them for months before deciding to go full scorched earth. And if that wasn't wild enough, wait until you hear how the money was allegedly spent. Private jets, villa rentals, 5-figure shopping sprees in Paris, custom chains, and at least one $90,000 payment to a spiritual advisor who specializes in energy cleansing and reputation protection. Seriously? That's in the documents. Meanwhile, the public face of it all, Jim Jones, was living like Harlem royalty. IG stories of rooftop parties, flashy cars, luxury brands, and motivational captions like "built not bought" hit different when you realize the empire behind it might have been bought with someone else's money. Fans started putting two and two together, especially when some of Jones's jeans business ventures seemed to appear and disappear faster than a SoundCloud rapper with a one-hit wonder. One liquor brand he pushed hard for a few months vanished without a trace. A clothing line he claimed to co-own was later found to be entirely managed by a third-party marketing firm that wanted nothing to do with his name. The cracks were there. Cameron just gave everyone a sledgehammer. And as this legal drama unfolds, more names are being dragged in, some familiar, some not. But one thing is clear: this isn't just about Jim Jones anymore. This is about a family dynasty being dissected piece by piece in front of the same streets that once cheered their rise. Now Harlem's watching. Some loyalists are in denial, claiming Cam is bitter, washed, and reaching for relevance. Others are glued to the details, treating every court update like a new season of Power. And let's be honest, it kind of feels like that: Cameron as the ex-brother turned whistleblower, Jim Jones as the capo, trying to keep the family secrets buried. A cast of characters from the block to the boardroom, and the courtroom as the battleground where loyalty dies and truth survives. This case hasn't even gone to trial yet, but it's already sparking online debates, heated barbershop arguments, and private group chats filled with screenshots, links, and messy voice notes. Everyone's picking a side. But what no one can deny is this: Cameron didn't just throw shade. He threw a match on the Dipset brand and walked away holding the gasoline can. What comes next might not just end careers. It could end friendships, legacies, and the illusion that these rap empires are always built on loyalty and brotherhood. Because if these allegations are true, the Dipset house wasn't built on Harlem Hustle, it was built on fraud, fear, and silence. And now that silence is broken. The silence is broken, and what spilled out is wilder than anyone could have predicted. Because just when you thought Cameron's court filing had already blown the lid off Jim Jones's family secrets, more layers keep peeling back like an overcooked onion, and every one of them stinks worse than the last. What started as whispers of fraud has now turned into a full-blown opera of deception, greed, and betrayal, starring not just Jim, but a whole supporting cast of cousins, aunties, and shadowy business partners who suddenly can't be reached for comment. Inside sources, same unnamed voices who suddenly found their moral compass when subpoenas got real, claimed that some of the companies tied to the Jones family were operating as financial laundromats. One name in particular, listed as a creative consultancy, had 0 staff, no website, and allegedly processed over $4.2 million in consulting fees. between 2020 and 2023. But according to leaked records, those fees were paid by other family-linked shell entities in a loop so tight it looked like the money was just taking a joyride around the globe before ending up in luxury cars, private condos, and designer shopping bags. And it gets better or worse, depending on who you are. Ask, remember that so-called spiritual advisor? Turns out that wasn't a one-off expense. Multiple payments, some over $20,000, went to a woman who runs a members-only energy retreat in Sedona, Arizona, where she promises to cleanse bad karma through sound baths, rare incense, and something called vibrational currency realignment. And guess who footed the bill? According to the filings, it all came out of the same fake consulting firm's offshore account. Meanwhile, anonymous insiders claim family members would regularly fly out there in first class for private sessions to help them stay focused during legal stress. That's not focus, baby. It's fraud with a side of aromatherapy. But let's get back to the hard cash. Investigators reviewing the court documents say Cameron's evidence includes dozens of flagged transactions, suspicious activity, reports that had been sitting unnoticed in various banking systems until now. One report shows a sudden $700,000 transferred to an Eastern European construction firm that, funny enough, doesn't even list New York as a service area. Another flagged deposit shows $950,000 moving through 3 separate accounts in under an odd hour before ending up in a Caribbean holding company owned by someone with, you guessed it, a hyphenated last name linked to Jones's mother's side. This ain't conspiracy, it's coordination. And the deeper this thing goes, the uglier it gets. Sources familiar with the Jones family's inner workings say the money laundering allegations were always whispered about, but never proven. Cameron's court leak. That changed everything. Now, investigators are reportedly circling like sharks, digging into past business filings, 1099s, and property tax records. One property listed under Jim Jones's name allegedly claims to be a recording retreat, but neighbors say they've never seen a single artist come through. What they have seen: blacked out SUVs, high-profile guests, and late-night comings and goings that scream this is less about music and more about movement of the financial kind. Even more damning are the alleged audio recordings Cameron handed over. While the public hasn't heard them yet, insiders who've listened claim there's one clip where a relative can be heard saying, "As long as the paper keeps moving, no one needs to know the truth." Another voice, allegedly Jim himself, Scott, saying, "This is bigger than rap, bro. This is legacy. We can't let the streets run this story." Well, too late. The streets are running this story, and the internet's got it on repeat. Social media has become a courtroom of its own. Memes of Jim Jones dodging subpoenas, videos of Cameron in courtroom drip, walking like he just won the Hunger Games, Twitter threads analyzing every line of the leaked court docs, Instagram pages dedicated to exposing the Dipset fraud files. It's a digital frenzy, and everyone wants a front row seat. Even celebs have jumped into the chaos. One former ROC Nation artist reposted a story with the caption, "Karma. Don't miss. Harlem. Know what's up." Fans are split down the middle. Some say Cam broke street code by airing family business in public. Others are calling him the rap game Snowden, blowing the whistle on a dynasty built on lies. Meanwhile, Jim's loyalists are scrambling to do damage control, flooding timelines with old performance clips, motivational quotes, and half-baked denials. But none of that's stopping the bleeding. Brands are pulling back. Partnerships are going quiet. A major sneaker collab Jim was set to launch this summer has reportedly been postponed indefinitely, which we all know is PR speak for "we don't want smoke with the feds." Speaking of feds, whispers are turning into confirmations. Unnamed law enforcement sources told insiders that multiple agencies, including the IRS and FinCEN, have quietly launched preliminary probes into the Jones family's financial dealings. And the real kicker, Apparently, they were already sniffing around before Cam's court filing even dropped. Smooth just added fuel to the fire and gave them a detailed map. Investigators are now reportedly reviewing old tax returns, suspicious real estate purchases, and business accounts going back 10 years. Some experts say this could lead to a full-on RICO investigation if enough dots connect. And guess what happens when the feds come knocking on a family like this? People talk. People flip. And people who once said family over everything suddenly start saying, "I'll take that plea deal, Your Honor." But it's not just the courts and the blogs. Behind closed doors, the Jones family is imploding. Sources claim there's internal panic, heated arguments, and even betrayal bubbling from within. Some family members are reportedly pointing fingers at each other, trying to play innocent or pretend they were kept in the dark. One relative allegedly told investigators, "I didn't know what was going on. I just signed the papers they gave me." Sound familiar? That's the same excuse used in half the financial scandals we've seen in the last decade. The walls are closing in, and Kamran. He's posted up, calm, collected, and unbothered. Not a single rant, no messy interviews. Just silence, deadly, strategic silence. The kind that says, "I said what I said. Now watch it all burn." That's not a diss. That's a declaration. A chess move 10 years in the making, and the streets are paying attention. Harlem used to chant Dipset like it was gospel. Now people are side-eyeing old lyrics and realizing maybe the truth was always hidden in plain sight. Maybe those flashy verses about flipping money and stashing paper weren't just metaphors. Maybe Kamran finally had enough of watching a fake legacy get worshipped while the real one stayed quiet out of respect. And now, respect's off the table. Loyalty's dead. And Jim Jones's so-called empire is being torn apart from the inside out, one court filing at a time. What's next? More leaks, more receipts, and possibly more family members willing to trade silence for immunity. Because when the feds start offering deals, loyalty folds fast. And the Dipset dynasty, it might have already seen its final curtain call. The Dipset dynasty might have already seen its final curtain call. But the saga isn't done unraveling yet, not by a long shot. Because as the walls close in on Jim Jones and the whispers of racketeering turn into actual legal paperwork, the fallout is hitting harder than any diss track ever could. Sources close to the situation say the courtroom is about to become a revolving door for family members, old affiliates, and even former business partners, each one carrying their own little piece of the puzzle. And let's be real, when people start seeing prison time on the horizon, they start remembering everything. Deals once sealed with handshakes and loyalty oaths are suddenly being dissected by federal investigators with forensic accountants and subpoena power. This isn't just the fall of a rapper's, the unraveling of a family legacy built on smoke, mirrors, and offshore banking. Internal documents allegedly show financial records being scrubbed right before audits. Shell companies being transferred between relatives like hot potatoes. And consulting contracts worth hundreds of thousands being paid out to people who didn't even exist on LinkedIn. It's not just shady, it's surgical fraud masked as generational wealth. Meanwhile, the legal team defending Jim Jones is reportedly overwhelmed. Their recent filings are described as defensive, vague, and panicked by those with knowledge of the case. One insider told us that behind the scenes, they're not even trying to deny every allegation, just hoping to discredit Cam, Ron's sources, and question the legitimacy of the leaks. But the thing is, once court documents enter public record, and media outlets start picking them apart line by line, the court of public opinion gets real loud, real fast. And right now, that court is dragging Jim Jones through the mud. Comment sections are a battlefield, with Dipset fans begging for silence while critics demand arrests. Some people are even combing through old interviews, pointing out inconsistencies in Jones's stories about his upbringing, his business deals, and his so-called loyalty to the block. It's almost like folks have been waiting for this day. It's just waiting for someone like Cam. Ron to finally say what everyone else was too scared to utter out loud, that the house Jim Jones built was never solid. It was a sandcastle dressed up in Versace and held together by hush money. And speaking of hush money, one of the most jaw-dropping claims in Cam. Ron's filing is the alleged use of payoffs to keep certain individuals from talking to the press or cooperating with investigations. According to court documents at least, 3 people were offered lump sum settlements in exchange for silence. One of them was allegedly flown out to Turks and Caicos for a family healing retreat that just so happened to come with a non-disclosure agreement. That person later filed for bankruptcy under a different name. Another potential whistleblower was reportedly given a car, a condo lease, and monthly cash transfers until they went radio silent. The paper trail, according to Cameron's team, matches up to accounts linked directly to Jones's oldest cousin, who's now mysteriously traveling abroad indefinitely. Yeah, sounds legit. As this mess unravels, investigators are now watching the family's every move. Sources say federal agents have begun interviewing past collaborators, old producers, even former label execs who may have seen red flags and chose to look away. That luxury lifestyle Jim flexed on Instagram might soon be used as evidence in a courtroom, and the effects are already rippling beyond the family. Several Harlem-based foundations and nonprofits that once proudly partnered with Jim Jones are now reviewing their affiliations, according to one insider. Translation: they're ghosting him faster than a label drops a rapper with a bad scandal. Corporate sponsors, too, are pulling plugs. A clothing collab set to drop this fall has gone completely dark. A tour rumored for next spring, quietly canceled due to unforeseen circumstances. And in the background, Cameron remains unbothered. No press tour, no Instagram live breakdown. Quiet moves and more evidence being prepared for court. His legal team says they're not looking for a payout. They're looking for the truth. Whether you believe that or not, one thing's for sure, Cam knew exactly what he was doing when he filed that paperwork. It wasn't random. It was a bomb with a timer, and now it's exploding in slow motion, taking everything in its path. The music industry is shaken. Artists who once posed for Dipset reunion pics are now conveniently Mia. Rumors are swirling that some former collaborators are lawyering up just in case. A well-known producer who asked to stay anonymous told a source, "This is the type of case that makes people go quiet. You don't know whose name's going to pop up next?" That fear is spreading fast. And in the middle of it all is Jim Jones, who went from being the capo of Harlem to possibly being the nucleus of one of the biggest scandals hip-hop's ever seen. And let's not act like this is just about some money disappearing or a few fake LLCs. If the court finds intent, they connect these dots the way Cam's team claims they already have. We're looking at criminal conspiracy, money laundering, tax fraud, the kind of charges that don't just hurt reputations, they take people off the streets for years. And if even one family member flips, that domino effect is going to be brutal. This isn't just rap beef. This is legacy warfare. And the question now is, how much more is still buried? Cameron's court filing reportedly only scratched the surface. Insiders say more documents are being prepped, more recordings being vetted, and more people coming forward quietly, hoping to cut deals before things get worse. There's talk of sealed indictments, grand jury movement, quiet visits to lawyers in Midtown Manhattan. And through all of it, Harlem is holding its breath. Because this isn't just any scandal, it's a betrayal of an entire mythos. Dipset was supposed to be untouchable. But now, it's looking like the kingdom was rotting from within this whole time. As it stands, court hearings are scheduled to begin in just a few months, and they could stretch for years. Legal experts believe the outcome of this case could set new precedents for how celebrity-related financial crimes are prosecuted. Meanwhile, the culture is watching. This isn't just about Jim and Cam, it's about how far someone is willing to go when loyalty turns into liability. It's about whether brotherhood can survive betrayal. And it's about the mask slipping in front of millions. What once felt like Harlem royalty now feels like reality TV written by the IRS. The Dipset story we thought we knew is gone. In its place is a courtroom drama that's just getting started. And as more evidence emerges, more reputations crumble. And more truth spills into the streets. One thing remains painfully clear. In the world of hip-hop, the truth doesn't just hurt, it destroys. Alright fam, now that you've heard every explosive detail, every leaked receipt, every shady deal, and all the jaw-dropping drama, it's your turn to sound off. What do you really think is going on here? Is Cameron the ultimate truth teller, finally exposing a rap empire built on lies? Or is this a next-level chess move to take down Jim Jones at the perfect moment? Could this scandal really destroy Dipset's legacy forever? Is there still a chance for redemption? It all the way real. This isn't just rap beef anymore. This is courtrooms, federal probes, secret recordings, and entire family ties being ripped apart on full display. The streets are talking, the internet is in flames, and Harlem's watching every second. But the bigger question is, how far will this go? Will Jim survive the storm? Will more names get dragged into the mess? Will we see handcuffs or headlines next? I need you to drop your rawest, hottest takes in the comments. Who do you believe? Who's playing dirty? And who's next to fall? Don't hold back, we want all the smoke. Make sure you hit that like button if this saga has you hooked. And smash that subscribe so you don't miss the next leak, the next twist, or the next name caught in this legal firestorm. Turn on notifications too, because with drama this wild, anything can drop at any moment. And trust when it does, we'll be right here to break it all down with the same heat and the same savage energy. Until then, stay woke, stay ready, and remember, in the world of hip-hop, it's never just music. It's power, loyalty, betrayal, and the truth louder than any beat.